Absolutely insane highway pulls this morning. Good morning everyone, hope you're all having a wicked day. Welcome back to the videos. Today is the big day. We are heading to Proflow Fab and Dyno. We're going to meet up with George and we're finally going to be tuning the XR6 Turbo. I've tuned a few of them now. I've tuned NAs, I've tuned the original XR6 Turbo we did on the channel, all the way up to 620 horsepower. That thing was absolutely mint. Today, we're gonna try and keep it nice and modest. We have beneath me a 500 horsepower capable car, and I'm really hoping to hit that number today. And if you guys are weird from Victoria and want me to say the kilowatts, it's probably gonna be somewhere between 350 400 kilowatt today. Anyway, let's go catch up with George. Let's get this thing on the dyno. All right, we have arrived. Proflow Fab and Dyno. Very, very keen. Ooh, there's no mang. Let's go have a bit of a geeze. Alright guys, well this is a pretty exciting moment. This is tune Barra number 3, I think I'm up to now. This one here should be a really nice mix between both the tunes on my old Breeze XR6 Turbo you guys would have seen a couple of years back. But this thing right here is, I'll run you through the mods list in just a sec, but we're here at Proflow Fab and Dyno. We're here with George, who's just in the car at the moment. I'll introduce you guys to him in just a sec. But this right here is the budget XR6 Turbo that we picked up for 10K. We've now built it into an actual regular costing Falcon, unfortunately, with all the issues that we had with this thing. But it's on the dyno right now and it's ready to get tuned, and it should hopefully make around about 500 horsepower or about 370-ish kilowatt, I'm hoping. So we'll see how we go. This thing is pretty much what you'd expect from doing basic bolt-ons and making a Barra pretty much as good as you can get on 98. So first of all, up front, you guys can see we have a massive Ants intercooler. It is one of their stage 2 intercoolers. It's nice and thick, and then also paired that with the Ants alloy intercooler piping as well. We have an Ants turbo side intake, which puts the battery over this side, makes sure this side gets nice cold fresh air apart from going over the top. We've just put in our 1000cc Bosch injectors with our Raceworks adapters as well. Speaking of turbos as well, we also have a massive 3582 Gen 2. George has confirmed they're very, very similar to the regular 3582Rs that come on these turbos, that come on these cars from factory. But in saying that, this right here, if I wanted to turn it up in the future, will be a little bit better. We've got a brand new overflow, we've got the Ants catch can, the full Dash 8 braided lines. Now, internally, we have Crow cams, valve springs, and ARP head studs in this thing as well. And then we also have paired this with a 460 fuel pump. So we have a pretty much full bolt-ons list for this thing. It's going to be very, very simple. It's going to be a nice, reliable Barra. The next thing we've also done is, unlike pretty much any one of my other Falcons that I've done in the past, I've actually built the driveline on this thing before I did anything. So we have a GJ tail shaft. We also have a stage 2 RNS built ZF as well. So this thing should handle up to about 450 kilowatt. There is no way we're going to be pushing that today. So we're going to be nice and safe on the stage 2 box. We have a standard diff, but behind there as well, we have Coney adjustables to help with any axle tramp. We also have SSL springs all throughout, so I don't know if that's going to make any difference in regards to keeping the driveline healthy, but it's nice heavy duty springs, so it should handle the power a little bit nicer. But aside from that, it's a very, very standard kit. So I'm very excited. And this is going to be the first time I'm actually going to be able to shoot at a dyno. I've never been able to actually go and watch my car being tuned, so it's gonna be quite cool actually. All right, so also I just quickly wanted to add, this car is going to be tuned on the factory ECU. The factory ECU is very capable in these things, and there's a few companies that go out and allow you to unlock all the special features of what this thing can do. My last car was PCM Tech. We ended up doing that hectic 4-tune setup with 98 and the 85, and it was a really, really cool setup. This time I'm decided to go a little bit different. George prefers to tune on HP tuners, which I've heard is still a brilliant way to tune these cars. So we're going to be using HP tuners for this car. Very, very happy. And it also works along with the fact that VCM Performance also sponsored this car with a thermostat for the transmission as well. So yeah, we're going to be using HP tuners, VCM Performance. Very, very happy about that. I'm interested to see how the tune feels. I'm sure it will feel pretty much just the same as what a PCM Tech tune will do. So very, very happy about that. All right, I think we're about to start it. Be cool. Rightio, so I think we're actually starting. I'm going to do a little bit of a light load pass at about 15 psi, just see if the car holds up. This will be the most amount of load this thing has had in its entire life. So we'll see how we go. 320,000 Ks. I just really hope everything just stays inside. Touch wood. And I torqued those head studs, so it's already made factory power at 270 horsepower. I'm sorry? Okay, that's only 327 horsepower. That's scary.
First pass, 19 pounds.
I was going to say, that thing was sick.
Yeah, it was, like, that's why I always give it that half pull.
Yep, yeah, I love it. It sounded sick.
It did, yeah.
By the way, guys, this is George from Proflow. What's going on, mate?
How are
you guys might have seen him from mainly the Full Boost channel, but you've also been on Clay's channel as well.
Clay's and
I did a bit of research on him before.
And
Tristan's as well. Been on everyone's channel.
Yeah.
But George is going to be the one tuning the car today. George owns Proflow Fab and Dyno, so you may make a few pretty cool cars here as well and do a little bit of tuning and stuff like that. What do you specialise in anything crazy or just pretty much anything?
Barra and LS mainly.
Mm-hmm.
I've always done the V6s and the Holdens as well.
Yeah, cool.
And
the V6 Holdens.
Yeah, V6 Hold. That's where that's where I sort of
Ecotechs and stuff.
Yeah, all the Ecotech stuff. Right. That's where I got my.
I'm sorry for your ears then.
Yeah, believe it or not, I've always liked them.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so that's how I started. That's it is. Yeah, that's how I started with the Ecotech V6s, and I still do a lot of stuff for them, and tune them. And I don't tune the stock stuff, like the stock ECU stuff, but I do some aftermarket parts for them and ECU stuff and turbo stuff, a lot of turbo manifolds, engines, and a lot of 5-litre stuff lately too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
As you can see, I've got some
cars definitely.
here.
I'll go around and have a look at Nomag as well. I won't show any customers' cars, but
no, that's right.
We'll go check out Nomag real quick. We may as well. It's got a quick little iteration, so you guys will actually get a little bit of an update before the Full Boost video officially comes out, but it's pretty cool. I'll give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek, but this thing is wild. Massive Pro Mod turbo, and it's a very, very simple Barra setup, and cheeky little gate out the side there, but this thing is very, very cool. Sounds so good. 420 horsepower. We're pretty much already at what my original Breeze XR6 Turbo was making flat out, 16 PSI on the 3576. So that's very, very cool. It's already going to feel so much quicker, and the fueling's not even right for 19 PSI. So see how we go. I think we are tuning it at 19 PSI today. We're not going to go too crazy because we don't want to obviously start having issues with 98. As I said, the limit today is probably going to be the fact we're just running 98 fuel. So anything over 19 will just have issues. So yeah, see how we go. Right, so first issue on the dyno, we have a little bit of a boost creep. So we just did a second run, 316 PSI, 316 kilowatts, and it went up to 21 PSI. So we've basically taken the boost controller out of the equation. So fingers crossed it should just sit at like 14, 12 PSI. Going probably doesn't mean that it's good. Maybe. Don't know. So I kept climbing at about 12-ish, yeah? Kept climbing at about 12-ish?
I just kept climbing regardless.
Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, so just kept climbing regardless. So,
okay, alright.
We're going to let it cool down.
Okay, no worries.
And play with the actuator.
Oh, joy. Okay, I'm sorry, bro.
No, you're doing it.
Oh, okay. I know I'm doing it, yeah. No, that's cool. So, the actuator's set too tight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if the porting is all correct,
yep.
Then definitely the actuator is probably too tight. So we can loosen that off somewhat and see if we can get better boost control. Okay. If not, then I'm going to say it's going to need more porting.
Okay. All right. No worries. Oh, joy. I'm going to throw back to a clip about 30 seconds ago where George said I was going to be doing the work. Thanks, George.
We'll be here all day, mate.
Nah, so what we're going to do now is George had the theory that we have done the wastegate too tight. I did check it at work. It was cracking at about 14 PSI, but it was very tight to put on. So what we're doing is we're going to be loosening the rod. Now, what the theory is if the rod isn't opening soon enough and not opening it to its full sort of thing when we're trying to hit 14 psi and try and keep it at 14 psi, it's not actually opening the flapper enough to allow the boost or to allow the exhaust gases to escape, therefore creating too much boost. So is that sort of what that was sort of on about?
Yeah.
Yes, cool.
Yeah, so what's happening is the wastegate isn't opening up enough because the tension on the rod is too much, so that flapper doesn't open up enough to relieve the gases that are required to maintain that RPM for that shaft to keep that boost. So what's happening is not enough is going out, more's going through the exhaust, turning that wheel faster, creating more boost.
Cool, excellent. I guess it kind of works the same as if you were to have issues with the port not being big enough on the turbo. So that's one thing we're going to be testing right now. We did port this turbo, Terry at my work. You guys remember Trans Terry? We ended up doing that. So we're hoping that it's not the port. We're really hoping it's just the wastegate. If it is the port, then what we're going to be doing is just going straight to an external gate. So that's going to be the next plan, which means we won't be able to get it finally tuned today, but I'll be able to go back, do an external wastegate, plumb it all back in, come back, and then we can wind up the car again and see how it goes. But hopefully, fingers crossed, this works, because I did want to leave it external gate. I didn't want to have to do any extra work to it, so we'll see how we go, fingers crossed. All right, so George actually loosened off our wastegate rod about 4 turns, which is a considerable amount. So what we're going to do, all we wanted to do is just to hold a decent PSI, anything under 19, a decent PSI, fingers crossed. This run here is going to determine whether we need to go back and fix it or not. God damn it, 460 horsepower. That's a 4,000 RPM. Fucking hell. Alright, looks like I'm pulling the turbo off. Alright, well that was a very short-lived dyno day. Look, we're still going to be able to do everything in regards to, driving it around. We can still get into boost a little bit, but I can't I can't rip on it, unfortunately, at the moment. So at least I'll be able to hear the sound of this hectic turbo finally dosing, which is going to be sick, apart from just whistling up and down. But aside from that, we are making way too much boost today. So we're going to take the car home. We are going to work out what we want to do from here. So look, there's a couple of different options. George has a Pulsar kit to make this thing external gate like straight off the rip. The Pulsar, they have like a cast housing which prioritizes the gate, which I can then just put a screamer story on it, and sweet, no worries at all. We can chuck it on, and I can get it plumbed back in eventually. But at least then we'll be able to work out, or at least then we'll be able to tune it because it will actually hold the boost. But at the moment, this thing is still shooting up to like 20 psi very, very quickly, and he can't get the responsiveness of what he wants either. So yeah, unfortunately today that sucks, but that's how it is.
Hey, that's cars, man.
That's it. I do apologize. I've never had an issue with a car on the dyno, so it has to happen once.
It's okay. I guess. I'll charge you twice. It's fine.
Done. Easy. Nah, it's easy. All right, cool. Either way, guys, we're going to take it home. We'll still be able to drive it around a bit more hectic than what I usually was, and we do actually have a trans tune on this thing now, so it should feel much nicer. Thanks, mate.
It's all right, man.
I do apologise.
Just try that trans tune out.
Yeah, we'll do.
I can't guarantee it's 100% without testing it.
Yep.
But give me some feedback and we can work off that.
Beautiful.
So give it a try.
Beautiful. All right, guys, we'll jump in the car. We'll go for a bit of a rip. See how we go. Sad sight. A lot more trust in his driving abilities around that pole than I would have. Alrighty, well, back in the car. Unfortunately, we couldn't finish the dyno today. The car was just making way too much boost. So back to the drawing board with the turbo design. I honestly think that if I'm going to go all out and just try and make this car as reliable as possible, it's probably worth just doing a completely custom rear external gate section. It's probably going to cost an additional $1,000 or so, but hey, it's just the way it is, unfortunately, with building cars. So anyway, guys, the turbo sounds mint. Like, I'll give you guys a little bit of a stub coming out of this roundabout right here. Sounds good. The whistle is so intense. I love it. It sounds so good. Obviously, it's not fully tuned just yet. It's doing its thing, but yeah, no, I'm stoked. Feels great. All right, so I'm one of those people where I physically cannot sleep if I know that something's wrong with one of my cars and I cannot figure out what it is. And I will literally research it. I think I went home from work that day and I thought about it from the moment I was driving home until about 2 a.m. when I went to bed finally. I'm trying to work out exactly what this issue is, because I know there's people that run internal gate setups and it works flawlessly. And I know that there's people out there that run external gates just to basically get rid of the entire thing. And I'm just like, okay, I need to work this out. I need to try and figure it all out. I thought I went overkill with the wastegate setup, so I was like, okay, I really want to try and make this work, but we'll see how we go. And after speaking to a few very knowledgeable people, I honestly think I found out the reason why this is happening. And I went into the car and I took a few little videos with my phone, just like chucking my phone down into somewhere and loading up the wastegate and doing all that sort of stuff. My first point of call was, okay, is the flapper opening far enough? So I took off the rod, reached down into the car, took off the rod, and I actually found out that when I move the wastegate back, it only moves back maybe at most 45 degrees. I already didn't like that much. I was honestly thinking that maybe the flapper was hitting the dump internally or something similar, but there was so much room inside that dump that I didn't believe it. So anyway, I sent those videos off to Gene, and he's like, are you sure that the little pin isn't actually hitting the outside of the dump? And sure enough, it actually looks like the pin is hitting the outside of the dump. So that's one thing that was becoming an issue. But the next thing was, I also put my phone down there and I loaded up the IWG 75 wastegate that I'd been recommended to run on this car from a few people. And it looks like the IWG 75 actually has an incredibly short throw for an actuator. Speaking to a few people, I actually found out that the IWG 75 Turbo Smart actuator is probably the completely wrong choice for running on one of these cars, unfortunately. Apparently the throw is disgustingly short, and this is an issue that a few people have had on their Falcons, and so I went, okay, all right. I put the wastegate rod onto the flapper. I put my phone down there again. I loaded up the wastegate, and sure enough, it was only opening probably between 30 and 40%. It only moved a couple of mil, and that's on, I loaded up my compressor to regulate at about 20 psi. The spring in it is 14, so I thought 20 would definitely get it to its longest length. And sure enough, then yeah, the actual wastegate itself physically wasn't even opening up to the point where the rod was hitting the dump. Even if I wasn't running an IWG 75, I probably would have run into issues with the rod not hitting the dump, but we could have, whilst we were there, probably just, you know, yanked at the thing and bent it out of the way. But at the same time, it seems like my issue here could have been the IWG 75. I won't know until I pull everything off and actually, you know, do some tests while it's outside the car. But at the moment, it is looking like the IWG 75 is not actually physically allowing the flapper to open far enough to allow the exhaust gases to escape, therefore, you know, putting way too much exhaust gas into the rear wheel, spooling up the front and creating way too much boost. So yes, if you are looking at doing this setup in the future, a few people out there that have recommended that I, one, just use the regular pulsar internal gate or internal actuator. The next thing is also going to a Garrett one. Now, so this is where my head went into a huge rabbit hole of, do I want to try and make the internal wastegate work versus do I want to go for an external gate but then plumb back in? I don't want to go a full screamer on this car. It's a daily. It's definitely not something that I want to do anymore. When I was looking at going the external gates, the pulsar already, I had to do a few little custom things and order some different parts to make the IWG 75 work. So if I was to go with a Garrett internal gate, then would I have to weld the rod longer? Would I have to do this? Would I have to do that? It was all becoming an absolute mindfuck, and I would prefer just to have something that I know is going to work straight off the rip. And so I've decided I'm going to go external gate. It's going to be a much more simple setup. I just have to go into the car, remove the turbo, change around the rear housing to the Pulsar external gate housing. I'm going to run a Pulsar 45mm gate. It comes with a screamer. Give the whole thing to Grubby. He's going to plumb it back in, do the little thing where he glues the metal together, and then we take it back to the dyno and the thing just works. That is what's going to happen. I'm not going to spend any more money on this dumb car. We'll see how we go. I'm going to make a little video that's a little bit more in depth about this. I may even change my mind, but that at the moment seems like the most logical thing that I can do to make this thing reliable and fix it. It's probably not going to be the cheapest thing to do, but at the same time, I've already spent way more on the car than I'd hoped, so just happy. Yeah, happy. All right, guys. See you later. Bye. I'll see you in the next one.